Hi, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. Now, if you've been watching the channel, you'll know that I'm doing a series on a load of sort of high-end boutique amplifiers. Now, the amplifiers that I've sort of decided on, and I can't decide on which one to keep, is between the Matchless Independence 35 and the Two-Rock Classic Reverb Signature. Now, both of these amps are absolutely fantastic. They both do quite different things. I'd love to be able to keep both of these amplifiers, but unfortunately funds don't permit. So one of them's got to go, but which one's got to go? So I'm asking in this video, which is the amplifier that I should keep? The Two-Rock Classic Reverb Signature is more of a Fender Dumble style amplifier, so it's got fantastic clean sounds, while the Matchless has sort of elements of sort of Vox AC30s, but with this particular Matchless, which is the Independence 35, because it's an EL34 based amplifier, you can get some of those sort of Marshall tones out of it as well. So what I'm going to do in this video is to go through both of these amplifiers, and I'm going to try and make my own mind up, but also if you guys want to let me know in the comments which one you would keep and which one you would pass on, that would be fantastic, as well, as I'm a little bit undecided. Anyway, let's get to it. The thing about these two amplifiers are that they are pretty much a perfect combination. The Two-Rock's cleans are exceptional, but that's really what it does. It does clean and sort of clean on the verge of breakup, sort of vintage Fender sort of tones. The great thing about the Two-Rock, it doesn't flub out on the bottom end, which is something that I really look for in a 6L6 style amplifier. Now, the Matchless is a bit more versatile. I wouldn't say the clean is quite as good as the Two-Rock, but the Matchless Overdrive channels are exceptional. So let's go through some of the sounds on the Two-Rock first. The way that I've got it set up at the moment, it's pretty clean. Even though that's a great clean, for me it lacks a bit of character. What I like to do with amplifiers, and if you've been watching this channel for some time, you'll know that I like to run a clean sound which is on the verge of breakup. So let's set it up so it does that. There's 3 different gain structures on the Two-Rock. I'll just go through the different ones. So in the down position, it's the lowest gain structure. Now, in the 2 lower gain structures, the thing that really works with this is using the effect gain. So if I turn that on, so you can get those sort of clean on the verge of breakup sounds really easy just by turning up the effect gain. So there we've got quite a nice sort of overdriven, sort of Fendery sort of sound. Now if we try the next gain structure, which is the top position, it gets even more gainy, but if you switch off the effect gain, cleans up really nicely. Now the way that I like to run it is in the middle position, which gets even more gain. and to leave the FET gain off. So there I've got my pretty much ideal sort of clean sound. Which is really dynamic, so the harder I pick, I can increase the drive going to the front of the amp. We can get even more gain out of it by switching up the mid control. One of the things about the Two-Rock is it's a single channel amp, so if you want to run some different sounds, you're really going to need to take a pedal board along. With the Matchless you don't, because it's got the 3 channels, and the 3 channels are really useful. So the clean channel is fantastic, the drive channel, which is channel 2, is fantastic, and you can really get some sort of quite high gain, and with channel 3 you can really drive it. But as I said, with the Two-Rock, it's a 1-channel amp, so you really need to use a pedal board with it. But it takes pedals really well. So let's switch in an overdrive pedal, and for this I'm going to be using an exotic BB preamp. Now, one of the really good things about the Two-Rock is it has a really great sounding reverb, which the Matchless, or my version of the Independence 35, doesn't have. So if I dial the reverb back so it's off, it sounds like this. And if I bring in the reverb, so there's the Two-Rock Classic Reverb Signature. Now let's move over to the Matchless Independence 35. Here's the clean sound on the Matchless as I've got it set up, and how I've really been using it for the past couple of weeks. Now, I don't know if this is going to come across on YouTube, but the clean sounds on both of these amplifiers are actually quite different. The Matchless definitely has more of that sort of glassy top end that you get that's similar to, say, like a Vox AC30, compared to the Two-Rock, which has that more sort of Fendery, sort of mid-scooped sort of sound. But both work really well, and it's really just a preference. The way that the EQ works on the Matchless is very different to the way that the EQ works on the Two-Rock. With the Two-Rock, you get all the individual controls, and those controls are really, really responsive, which is a really good thing. So if you have, if you go to a particular gig and you want your guitar a bit brighter, you can turn the treble up, or adjust the contour. But with the Matchless, it's slightly different, and the EQ affects the gain. So what I'll do is I'll show you the tone control on channel 1, and I'll show you what happens if I wind it all the way back and if I wind it all the way forward. So here's with the tone all the way back. As you can hopefully hear, as I've turned back the tone control, the gain has gone from sort of clean on the edge of breakup to very clean. Now if I turn the tone all the way up, As you can hear, we've got a lot more gain, but it doesn't get sort of super bright and super harsh. It still retains that smoothness. So if you've got a darker guitar, something like this, or something that's even darker, something like a Les Paul, even though you're adjusting the tone control, if you don't want that amount of gain, you've also got to adjust the input volume. But once you find that sweet spot, it's a really great clean sound. Now let's switch it over to channel 2 on the Matchless. As you can see on channel 2, I've got the gain wound up about a quarter of the way up, and you get this really sort of great sort of classic rock rhythm sound out of it. And now channel 3. It's got more than enough gain on tap for the sort of stuff that I would do, so I don't really need to take out any external drive pedals. But let's switch it back to channel 2. The only downside of this amplifier and this particular version of the Independence 35 is that this one doesn't have reverb, so I've got to add reverb afterwards. So there's the sound of both amplifiers. Hopefully you guys can help me decide which one I should keep and which one I should get rid of. Now, don't get me wrong, this hasn't passed me by. I know that I'm in a lucky position to be able to decide between one of these two amplifiers, but one of them has to go, as I can't afford to keep both of them. And also, what I'd like to do with this a little bit more, I'd like to expand this series and just try out a few more amplifiers. So if you've got any other suggestions of any other amplifiers that I should be trying, just to try and find that perfect amplifier, please let me know in the comments below. Anyway, I'm Paul from the Studio Rats. I really hope you guys got something out of this. If you did get something out of it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Click on the bell button and to be notified of any future video that comes out from the Studio Rats. I'm Paul, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.